Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner. I think he's a Terminator right now, but he is. You muted, bro.
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Panagiotis, aka I must break you. I'll be back. I'm liking the new speckles, man. Is that for the monitor? That's for the helps with the.
I just found them online and I like them, and I just have them as a backup of a backup because people have a habit of sitting on my sunglasses when I get in my car,
Right.
And I hate that because check my seat before you sit in my car. That's my rule. To check the seats because I'm a bachelor. I throw shit around, and my car is clean. If you remember, you see my car, clean my car.
Yeah.
The only thing I put there is, and it's only the same person who sits on my seat is my mother.
It's done then if it's over there for sure. Yeah.
I
I wear
like
these. I just
like this. Like I like the rimless. Like even my glasses. If you see, they're rimless. I always wear rimless. I don't. It feels like it's too heavy on my face. I don't like those.
Honestly, I just bought my first pair, so I just got my prescription updated. So these I wear exclusively for the monitors. So it has my prescription in it, but it's meant more for looking at things, for reading and for computers. My regular pair, I got my first pair like block frames, and I love them. I mean, yes, they're definitely a little bit heavier, but I figure if I'm gonna wear glass, I want like a more pronounced look, something more bolder. So I decided to go bold this time, and so far I'm enjoying them. But these really help out because I'm on monitors like 16 hours a day, so definitely the more eye protection I can get, the better. And definitely appreciate that. But once again, everyone, certainly welcome to the Gray Area. Good to have you guys in tonight. Make sure you hit the like button as you come in tonight, and certainly looking forward to a very interesting topic. And I'm just looking at the series of shows that we have coming up, and definitely looking forward to these conversations. These are going to be, I think, what you'll find in the coming weeks. I think more intimate conversations in terms of. Just as far as human beings, usually, we like to go over the globe and see how different people think about certain things. But I think conversations that we're going to have over the next few weeks are going to be more personal. They're going to be more real. And I think that, certainly, hopefully you guys will be able to relate to it. But, certainly salute to everybody who is coming out tonight. As always, Lost in Translation, salute to you, sir. All the great work that he's doing. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you check out his Lost in Translation channel. He really has some great content, especially on Monday nights, and certainly everything he does within the Black Man Unfiltered space.
Absolutely,
really good, solid, as solid as it comes. And,
I gotta give him credit when he speaks. He doesn't talk; he preaches. You gotta give him credit when he's due.
Well, what I've always appreciated about him is that he level sets the room. Like it could come in, you've been in the barbershops, whatever. It can get really chaotic, especially when he's out there. And sometimes when he comes in, everything just kind of calms down. He just has a presence about him that just kind of level sets everything, and you need those kind of dudes. Strength through, that quiet strength. Oh, he's watching that quiet strength that he exudes. Yeah, absolutely. But again, good guy. Certainly someone having a group. Certainly shout out to Craig Lucas again. Thank you for being in here tonight. Looking forward to this show. But before we go on, I had a little bit of a rant. Now, before we get into this topic, I don't know. It was a peeve. It's like I was thinking about something that happened actually a few days ago, and I was cooking dinner, and for some reason it came up, and then the more I thought about it, like my blood started to boil a little bit as I was thinking about it, and the thing that I thought about was just how people, how some people can just kind of cut you down. That sort of passive aggressive, like you just accomplished something, or you've achieved something, and you're in the process of doing something, and rather than saying, hey, that's great, congrats, or what have you, and again, you don't have to be all over the top with it, but they just find a way just to slide it a little bit. So like case in point, let's say if you just bought your Hyundai, right? And someone just says, oh, we bought a Hyundai. Oh, I hear Hondas are so much better. I'm like, why say that at that particular time? Even if you felt that way, is it appropriate to be there for, to say that at that particular time. Why can't you just be happy for somebody if they're doing something that's worthwhile, if they're doing something that's positive? Like you got a new job and you know, the person has something to say about the industry that you're in. It's not a bad industry, but it's just something that, you know, it's just someone that finds a way to just kind of dig in. So I was with my daughter, and you know, we met someone, and you know, we're just chatting up or whatever, and you know, so my daughter was talking about what she did, and then the woman had like just this comment that was, I didn't notice it, I didn't pay attention to it at the time when it was said, because you know, it's like they're kind of going back and forth, and usually when ladies start talking, I don't say much. And then it was like, okay, basically it's time to go. And then, like I said, I was cooking tonight for whatever reason, it just came up again. And I just started getting agitated about it. It's like, you know, was that really necessary to say at that particular time? That's that catty stuff that gets stuff started that's like did not have to be said. Sometimes silence is golden, but a lot of people, they just can't help themselves sometimes. So what do you think about it? Have you seen that? Has that been done to you in the past? But it's just some people just have to piss in your coffee. I mean, I just don't understand it.
I have this 3 examples. One, in the beer community, people do this all the time. You know, it can make a compliment on your beer, but you know, then they say, "Man, only if your beer was longer, or it wasn't less grayer, or wasn't as curly." In the beer community, people mock. I don't know what it is. Like when you have a really long beard, like the Duck Dynasty beard kind of thing, they would say, "Oh my God, your beer is too long." Okay, you trim back. For some reason, you feel like, oh, I need to trim a little bit. Oh, you look better with a beard. Like, well, you just fucking told me to trim this shit. I don't look better without a fucking beard. The goddamn's your problem now. And I grow it back out. And like, oh, your beard is coming out like you're homeless. I'm like, fuck that, motherfucker. All right, a little buzz cut. I'm like, oh, you looks better if you had a little wilder. I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm gonna knock you the fuck out now. But another example is my boss. Not going to say names, but anytime you do something right, everybody loves the meal. He would say, "This is not good enough. It needs more salt. This." He would never say to you, "Good job, Pete." Never. And Marianne actually worked with the same person 2 different times. We don't work together anymore, but she worked with him and I worked with him. And he just, point blank, he's a fucking asshole. I can't say. He's a miserable piece of shit. Simple as that. Same thing with cars. I bought my Hyundai. Well, better example, actually. Few years ago, when before my family thing broke up, was early, I would say 2015. All right. I maybe a little earlier than that. My dad, I couldn't afford my dad at the time a smartphone, but I bought him a new flip phone. Pretty popular at the time still, whatever. My cousin goes, "You should bought him a smartphone." All right. And I looked at him after, like, "You're a fucking dick." Like, what? Did you ask if I can afford him a smartphone? Obviously, the economy is different then and now. Back then, if you remember, you had to pay him outright.
Yeah.
Before the payment thing came in.
Before the financing, yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, my bad. I wasn't thinking. Like, yeah, you don't fucking think. People don't think sometimes. Like, maybe you got that car because that's what you can afford. Or you bought that because that's what you like, or it's a reason behind it. What do you just say? I missed that one.
Well, you can translate it as, shout out to Craig Lucas. I'm British. I would say, come on.
Yo, my man. Listen, British and Greek are neighbors, so you know we're family here, bro. I'm Greek, you're British. Just hairier. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I know certain cultures. Now I've heard about like Germans, for example. I've heard Germans could be very brutal when it comes to like commenting or whatever. Like there's no decorum, there's no decorum or polite. If they don't like what you're wearing, if they don't like what you do professionally and whatever, they're like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" Whatever. Like some people don't have any kind of filters, which in some ways you can almost appreciate. There's a certain level of honesty with that. I guess the contrast, someone would say, so if they had a pushback would be, well, Americans, you guys are really good at being nice, but you really don't mean it. Like you'll say the right things, but behind the back, you're saying, stuff behind the person's back or whatever. Whereas with these other cultures, if they don't like something or whatever, they'll just kind of just put it out there, whatever. But at least you know where they stand. So there's no buttering up. There's no kind of like sort of two-faced kind of thing or whatever. But I'm not even saying it. I don't even think that's two-faced. I'm just saying, someone has a job and you say something about the industry or whatever. I'm like, why do it at that particular time? Even if you believe it. I mean, unless they're doing something illegal or something like that, why can't you say, oh, congratulations, you got a new job. That's great. And just kind of keep it moving. But again, some people, they just want to piss in your coffee. And I just and I see a lot. I see a lot of that catty stuff with women. You can have on like the best outfit or whatever, and then someone has something to say about your shoes, or someone has something to say about just the most minute detail. And unfortunately, that thing that's getting criticized now, on the flip side of that, I do think people are too sensitive. In that people will then focus on, you got all this stuff together, but that one comment about that one thing, and now you're coming apart because the person didn't like whatever. So I think there's certainly there's a balance here that's needed. But why can't you just given the event or the accomplishment or the occasion or whatever, why can't we just focus on that? But you just have to go to that critical area and just criticize something. And again, parents do it. I know my wife. She has a different relationship with my daughters or whatnot. So yeah, she'll say whatever's on her mind with the daughters or whatnot. That whole mother-daughter dynamic is certainly can be interesting. But for some people, it's like they got to just find that one thing, despite the greatness or the goodness of whatever it is about whatever you're doing, and they just can't be happy for that. They got to find the little thing that just, intentionally or not, just to tweak you. And, so again, I just felt that. So my daughter was out tonight. So I was going to ask her that, yeah, remember when we talked to that lady, did what she said, did that bug you? Now, again, my daughter, she's real good at playing, she can put her poker face on, and whatnot, but I couldn't tell. Like I said, I really wasn't thinking at the time. I'm going to ask her when she gets back tomorrow. I'm going to ask her if that was something that actually bothered her when she was saying that kind of stuff. It just seemed like you try to the put down when it just didn't seem like it was necessary. But I've seen a lot of, especially with women don't beat me up here, but I've seen a lot of just that catty behavior where it's just the nipping and whatnot, and it has nothing to do with certainly the more important things. You just got to focus on that one thing. But have you seen that, Pete? I mean, what's your 2 cents on that from the Greek culture? I mean, you guys more
all the time, actually. It's the worst thing ever. Great example, right? Last Sunday, last Sunday was I was at church, and towards the end, you know how you go around, you say hi to the priest, you get holy bread or whatever, right? And this is an old man, and I respect him, but I want to choke slam shit out of him half the time. Half the fucking comments comes out of his mouth, and he comes up to me, starts poking, grabbing my, my sides, like, yo, you need to go on a fucking diet. I'm like, and the guy looked at him who was next to me. He knows me, like, that is rude, number one. Number two, he's a chef. And number three, he does so much for the community because I help with whoever I can in the church. Like, when we spoke about this, and, I help with, my mom, I got my channel, we got this, we got that. I'm always doing something. And I'm like, damn, I remember last time I had a day off, actually, now I think about it. But anyway, that's not the point. So the point I'm trying to, get to is, like, don't make comments you don't know where the person's coming from. It can be really bothersome though sometimes. Is that making sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know me and you bust our balls to each other. Like, you grow a beard, not grow a beard. I have better hair. You don't have hair. Like, that's all joking around.
Yeah, like I said, it's the level of ratio. Like I said, my wife, she'll get, my wife and daughters, they'll kind of go back and forth a little bit and pick at each other and stuff. It's like, and sometimes, I have to, sometimes I feel like I'm walking into the ladies' bathroom sometimes. So it's like, sometimes I got to, like, mention, okay, check out, that's their thing and whatnot. They kind of got that going on. But I'm just saying, but a stranger or someone you don't see necessarily on the regular or whatever, and they just find something just to pull you down on. So I don't know. So I'll ask my daughter and I'll get some clarity on that. Hopefully when when I see her and see if she was feeling the same thing. But I just want to let her know if that's what she was feeling. Just like, yeah, I got it. Because a lot of times she'll say, "Oh, Dad, you don't understand what she said," or whatever. And I'll be like the dumb guy, be like, "Oh, what was it?" But I was kind of feeling some of that, and so I was Greg said, I keep telling my wife that she has extra times. I don't know what that means, TYRES in British. I have no idea what that. what that reference is. I hope I don't. I can make assumptions there, but you might want to give us the American version.
Come on
of
the
that.
channel one day. He should come on a show one day.
And sure, next time, Craig, we have a one-on-one call-in show. Certainly, you're more than welcome. We'll drop the link, and certainly we'd love to meet you. But let's get into today's topic. I just want to kind of go over that a little bit. That was just on my mind before I got on the show. But tonight's show, again, and it said the next series of shows we're going to do, we're going to be talking about more personal topics, more so than just global cultural trends or what have you. But the topic for today's show, the title, and I'll turn it over to Pete to see how we came up with this. Title is "They Check All the Boxes, but I'm Not in Love. Should I stay?" This is an interesting. So, Pete, how'd you find this one? And what was the impetus behind this topic? Because I don't think we get too much into relational stuff here, but this is a good one. So, what was your thought process here?
First of all, you gotta admit this is a good bomb I dropped on us today.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this, but then I looked at the lineup coming up, and like I said, we're gonna have more of these sort of relational, more topics, more so than just how families are structured, but what the real is that happens inside those families. So I'm definitely looking forward.
I'm getting to the point in my life, like, okay, I'm almost 40. I feel old and corrupted, and I'm getting to the point like, okay, I finally want to meet somebody. I want to knock her up and have kids. That's what I can put it. If the Spartan way, of course. But I'm also thinking, I looked at my parents, like they were together for so many years. My mom checked out most of the boxes. I know that. My dad has said that multiple times. But at some point, they did fall out of love. And I see it both ways. I see people who they are fighting tooth and nail to stay in love with a person, both ways. Take them on date nights. Like with you and your wife, for example. You guys are on cruises without my permission. You got without my permission. You go to all this stuff. But you guys still in love. I met your wife. My wife has always been a sweetheart to me. She's always been very nice to me. And I can see when she looks at you, like, goes, yeah, that's my man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my husband in the day. Same thing with CQ. I see Jenny and him, like, kissy beaky. I'm like, get her fucking room. I'm like, joking around. Yeah. Then you see King and Michelle. Like, total opposites. It works. That's a science project going haywire, in my opinion. What happens the other way around for men? I thought about, like my parents, check all the boxes, but you fell out of love at one point. Do you continue being with me? Forget the kid factor. Like, get the kid factor out of the way.
Okay.
She cooks. She cleans. She's the old school housewife you want. You come on in the morning, your coffee's hot and ready. Your lunch is packed. Your clothes for work is ready on the bed. I'm like, maybe I'm asking a little bit too much there. But just a coffee alone, that'd be great for me. You don't need no more than that. You check all the boxes. But do I stay with you if I'm not in love with you? The question is. As a married man, Paul, hope your wife's not listening, but if you're not loving your wife anymore and you check all the boxes, would you stay with her?
Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting question on a couple levels with me. One, I had essentially a checklist. Like we've talked about it multiple times. I had my document. I had my list of requirements and what I was looking for, certainly in a wife. But my goals were somewhat modest. I was like, if I can get about 80% of this, I'm good. So in a way, I kind of had that. The other part of this is, again, defining what love is. Now, again, we've had a show. If you guys want to go back and watch and look up from the Gray Area or from the Spartan HQ Network, look up past Gray Area shows where we brought up the topic of what is love. And what we also talked about is how different cultures tend to express love differently. So in the examples you mentioned, Pete, a lot of this seems to be more what I would consider more PDA, more so than anything else. But I know a lot of cultures where PDA is frowned on. Like I work in the IT field. I work with a lot of Asian Indians. And at least the one...
Japanese people, don't do PDA.
Right, in general, that you wouldn't, it's like half the time you wouldn't know folks are married. Now, again, with younger generations, with millennials and Zers, I see a lot more PDA. I see a lot more hand holding. I see a lot more signs of affection to say like, oh, okay, they're together. Mm-hmm. But like in certain cultures, for example, the man walks in front of the woman. You know what I'm saying? Or it's a situation where if it's two couples, right, and like the two men walk together and the wives are a couple steps back. Or even the car arrangement, the men sit in the front and the wives sit in the back. So a lot of times they don't necessarily show or display affection the same way that we might be familiar with in the West or certainly Western culture, where people are, again, holding hands or feeling the booty or whatever, signs of affection that you may see out there. Or smacking the booty, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not in love. So I just want to sort of make that distinction, because I don't want to say that people, like I said, I've been over to a lot of Asian Indian homes and whatnot. And you don't see that kind of thing publicly. They really kind of keep that stuff close to the vest. Younger people, they're all over. They make it out in public, all that stuff. I think in certain countries, it's illegal. At least from my memory, that to be doing that stuff in public, you can get in trouble for some of that stuff. Very modest cultures where that's not allowed. But that being said, if you're truly in a situation, as you're saying, where somebody is, you're together, they're doing the quote unquote duties as a husband or as a wife, but you say you're still not in love with them, should you stay or should you go? I think we still have to have that conversation about what love really looks like, because are we talking about that kind of emotional, feely thing? Because being as married as long as I've been, that feeling doesn't last all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, the certain days or whatever, I'm not liking my wife too much, and she's got her, she's full of me as well. So, so that's not always the case where you're going to be in love, feeling lovey-dovey all the time. And so those are the ones you have to ride out. Now, if you get to a point now, it's interesting that the pictures, shout out to BMU for the pictures that he always tends to show. So when he put the show topic up, this is the banner for the show that he put up. So I want people in the chat caption this photo. Well, I was cracking up when I saw it coming up tonight. I saw the banner for it, and I started to laugh. So if you guys want to caption this photo in the chat, just write something in the chat just to let us know what you think of this. If it's constantly like this, I'm not saying you guys had a fight. I'm not saying you guys had a rough patch or whatever. I'm saying if it's constantly like this, where you're basically emotionally checked out of a situation, despite the fact that this person is checking off all the boxes, as you said earlier, I think it's certainly worth the I think it's definitely worth the conversation. So my man Eric said he looked like he'd rather be waterboarded. So I don't know. I think what is your expectation? I think is the question. Is the lust gone? Where you just like that, or that feeling like, oh my gosh, you can't wait to be with him or her or whatever? Is that what you're looking for? Or for me, I was looking for boxes to be checked. Whether I felt that way about my wife all the time, every time, I mean, certainly now it's kind of like that all the time. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it wasn't always. So, I think you have to, really, that's a conversation that you really have to have with yourself. But if you're looking for someone to give you that and keep that all the time, I don't know how realistic that is in the real world. I just don't, especially if you talk about all the boxes. So when I'm assuming all, especially from a man's perspective, since we're both guys, are you talking about sex? So you're getting all the sex that you want, and you still don't feel in love, and you still ask the question, should you go or should you stay or not? I mean, I would have to, if a friend of mine came to me with that proposition, I'm going to ask them, what do you want, bro? She's respectful. She takes care of you. She takes care of the house. She takes care of the kids. She treats you well in public. She's available for you sexually. Maybe now she may not be the acrobat that you may want. Well, she may not do everything that you want, but you get a decent measure. So I got to ask the question, what are you looking for? And is that realistic for you to have that I'm not in love? And some people would like, just like the song, shout out to Tina Turner from back in the day, what's love got to do with it? If marriage, especially if you're just dating somebody, I think that's different. But if you're talking about marriage, you talk about honor, duty, sacrifice, covenant, all that kind of stuff, then, forget about your love. That'd be my initial rule. I mean, we can certainly unpack that as the show goes on. But, again, I would have to really dive into what is the expectation of the one who's having these feelings. Because, I don't think how realistic it is for you to have that kind of sense all the time. Or is like maybe going back to the caption again, maybe there might be somebody else that he might be looking at and be like, man, I need to be with her. I don't know. But what say you on that?
That's a tricky one, really, to be honest with you. Like there, come on, like as men, we like you see a attractive woman walking by and you're like kind of turn your head and that's the normal reaction. But if you start thinking about I should be with her instead with my wife, that is usually a red flag in my opinion. Meaning you do not want to be with your wife. And that is the question I always ask. If you're asking yourself, am I with the right person? Then you're not with the right person. Or asking, am I really in love?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
You don't know what that means because you found a lucky one.
But that's what I'm at. So again, my pushback would be this. What does that mean? Who is the right person? I know guys, married guys, who it could have been a girl from back in the day that they still have these feelings for, or this lust for, something like that. The wife may not do it for them in the same ways that ex did, but at the same time, the wife that they have is better for them for the long term. So I know a guy like he's always talking about this lady and talking about the problems that she has or the problems that he would be. Would this guy be where he is in his life if he was with this lady? Or would he be worse off? But he just can't stop having feelings for this woman. And I just try to tell him, it's like, look, and he recognizes intellectually that where he is a better place than if he was with somebody else. But nevertheless, though, he still kind of goes through these motions and stuff because he still got whatever that lady put on him. He's like never forgot that. And so he's always, that's a piece that he feels, is kind of unfulfilled somehow. And, but, if he was to make that move, it would be disastrous for him. And I've told him that. It's like, you're crazy if you would even ponder that. Not just you. And in this case, I would have to bring in kids or what have you. It's like, you can't separate that, especially like I said, in a marital situation. But if you talk about just dating, if you talk about just boyfriend and girlfriend, and you just don't, that person doesn't do it for you anymore, then, I can understand that more, you wanting an exit, or you think you might be finding yourself out there. But again, how we winded up in this space this manosphere space, this black manosphere space or whatever. You had Kevin Samuels. What's he always talking about? You got these ladies who in their late teens and early 20s, when they were at their hottest, when they were at their finest, most fertile, went around, had a lot of good guys, you know, the Charles, if you will, of the world. These are the nice guys. Yeah, but maybe he might be a little bit nerdy. He might be a little bit this or that or whatever. And you wanted the hot guy. And you thought you had time to figure all that stuff out later. You found out that the guy who you thought was so hot really wasn't the guy who would be good for you long term. Then you trying to turn around and you say, "Hey, big head," you try to go back to the nerdy guy who now he's doing his thing. He's 30 years old. He's 6 figures plus. He's doing whatever he's doing or whatever. Now you're trying to get back and win with him, but you thought you were too good for him back in the day.
I'm just laughing. Now, you said big head more than anything.
So it's like now you're 30, 35 years old and you realize, you know what, I wasted all this time chasing after some things, or, you know, thinking I had all this free time and stuff, and now it's 35 and it's like now I'm trying to have kids just like you are, but now like the clock is ticking, and now I'm trying to get to somebody, but you know, it may be too late by that particular time. So again, I think a lot of this is really about what your expectations are, you know. But if you were truly in that situation where, you know what, I'm not in love, well, I would still ask this: do you love her though? Meaning loving in the sacrificial, selfless type of love. Do you care for this person? Then again, is that or is it to the point where, again, you can't stand this person, even if they're doing whatever, you know, all the boxes that you said need to be checked off, but you just can't stand being around them.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that might be a situation as well. But you know, but again, I'm thinking if that's the case, then she's not, by default, she's not checking off all the boxes. Then, if you're around somebody you can't stand, it's got to be something that where a box is left unchecked, or several boxes unchecked for you to come to that. So I can't see a situation. Why would you leave that? Like I said, when I told my friend about that, it's like, why would you leave that? And even if you came up with a reason, is the juice worth the squeeze? So yeah, you're with this woman, but the other woman that you're talking about, yeah, she gets on the stripper pole and she does all the crazy stuff in bed that you like. Is that worth throwing away your future for those moments of pleasure or whatever, or stay with the one who's kind of average in bed? But you get all these other goodies. You get all these benefits also. You get stability. You know, your income portfolio is better. Your health is better. All these things, no drama. Is that a better situation? And is that a bargain that you're willing to take?
I think it is.
Now women, unfortunately, and even in my community, you know, African-American women, a lot of them said no. A lot of them said no to me when I was, you know, became dating age and in my early 20s and whatnot. I wasn't considered a catch because I didn't have game. I wasn't cool like that. I was skinny. You know, all these things. I wasn't looked at as suitable for a particular time. So they thought, yeah. Even though yes, he's good, he's this, and the third, but if you're not doing it for me, you're not doing it for me. This is basically what I would get. I remember one lady, she said, you know what, Paul, you're a carnation. She used a flower analogy. Said you're a carnation, but I'm really into roses. Not to say that carnations aren't. Carnations are great. Carnations are you know, they're nice flowers. They, you know, look good and everything. But I really want a rose. And you're not a rose.
I hope you're
not. I was literally told that, and she just moved on. I mean, you know, so again, what are you gonna do in what are you going to do in that situation? You just move on. And then that's in part what helped to sort of shape my attitude when it came to dating.
Mhm.
I wasn't trying to be a Rose or anything else. I was just trying to be myself. And I just kept shooting shots until I found somebody who appreciated what I was shooting. And so I didn't care anymore about, that. It's like, look, these are requirements that I have. Can you check off most of these boxes that I'm looking for? If you can, let's talk. So yeah, so I was willing to take a deal. I was willing to take a compromise. All other things, else considered, yeah, I would certainly make the deal. But I think for a lot of people, they're not willing to make that. It's like all the stars have to line up, and you got to have, again, those feelies and all that stuff has to be there for them to even consider you, let alone respect you for for dating or for marriage or what have you. So I think people are so choosy right now, or thinking that they have to have all of these things before they can actually consider moving on with someone or consider staying with somebody, again, for the long run. But if you're not feeling it, yeah, I think a lot of people are heading for the exits, hoping for something better. The question is it better? And that's that'd be a question.
We need to ask ourselves tonight, because if you exit that relationship in some shape, way, or form, all right, what are you leaving behind? When I got out a long relationship, your life turns upside down. I know you've been married for 3 generations now, Paul. So you don't, if you wife left you and said, you know what, Paul, I don't like your shiny head, I'm out. I know she won't say that, but I'm using it as an example. She just gets up and leaves one day. I have no reason. Your life will be upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Agree or disagree?
Yeah, it'd probably be devastating. No question about it. I would, especially if it came out of left field, for something I didn't necessarily, see coming. Yeah, absolutely. It would be devastating, I would say.
So, by that said, when that happens to you, you need to start changing some habits. Whatever, cruises, for example, without my permission, and some other things you guys do together. You cannot do those because she's not there. Like, I remember one of my biggest habits was, and I still do it in a way, is Sundays, every other Sunday I was off, I used to get up early in the morning, make this big ass fucking breakfast for everybody for the house. If sometimes I have people crashing, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still make the breakfast, but it's not a big breakfast anymore. It's just me and mom. So I had to change some habits. Some are good changes, some are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like quitting smoking. I've been fighting that off and on.
Yeah.
By the way, I've been 5 days clean. So be proud of me right now. 5 days, no cigarettes.
Amen.
I am patching. I got patches working. Just want to throw a little
patched. You're patched up.
I'm proud of myself. I haven't touched cigarettes since Tuesday. So Monday. I'm sorry, lying to you. So tomorrow makes it freaking a full week. I am proud of my fucking self. I don't care what anybody says about it. But anyway, back to that. Great example. Maybe the woman left you because you're a smoker. She hates smokers. She gets in smoker.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the case is, then you look back like, fuck, I lost a good one there. Then you start thinking over the years, like, what if I stayed with her? What if I had kids with her? What if I got married to her? What if this? And I do have those what ifs personally. 1 or 2 of them. Looking back like, fuck me. She was a good woman, but I was too young to realize that yet.
Mm-hmm.
When you were 21, 22, 23, 24, in your early 20s, the only thing you care about is getting your pee-pee wet. That's the only thing you care about. You've been there. I've been there. A lot of people watching has been there probably. So getting your pee-pee wet is more important than putting a ring around that thing. Remember that whole song, "Put a Ring Around That Thing"? In a way, that she was right. If you're really in love with that person, put a fucking ring around that damn thing.
But my question though is, do you have to be in love with the person? That's why I'm trying to. That's why I'm trying to get like, why
if
is
you're
that?
Going to marry her, I think you should be married. You know, because it lasts long term. If you're just rooming with her,
I'm not saying rooming. No, I'm saying like, for example, again, we've talked about this. Like Asian, I go back to my Indian friends again. Arranged marriages are still a thing. People meet and they get married like within weeks, if not months of seeing each other. Not a lot of these folks, they're not in love. In fact, I remember distinctly when one of my good friends, I kind of got into his world a little bit. He's the one that sort of introduced me to arranged marriages. And when he told me he was going to India to get married, I was kind of surprised. It's like, you never told me you had a girlfriend. I didn't know you were seeing anybody seriously. And we knew each other for about a year.
Surprise.
And he said, "Oh, I don't know who I'm marrying yet." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he explained the process. So there was like 3-4 ladies in India that he was basically going to have interviews with. And, he was going to pick from them, and that's the one he's going to marry. And then everything is, they'll put the arrangements together and everything was good. And it's like, basically got to a point where, they were both feeling each other. He chose her and the parents all agreed and everything. And that was basically it. So you still have portions of the world where this idea of being in love, again, I think it's a westernized idea. And at the end of the day, I don't think that really is what sustains relationships. I mean, yes, being sexually attracted to someone, I think, is important. I think that, certainly having qualities that you can live with is important. But again, if that person is not, if you don't feel those emotional feelings like right away, I don't necessarily look at that as a deal breaker. And they said in Indian culture, the idea is like you get married and you fall in love later. I've been told that so many times, especially now, again, with the younger folks, with the millennials and Zers now, no, especially if they grow up in America, they're completely westernized. They may still go through like the traditional Indian wedding, but they are not settling for their spouses being picked out for them or, going through a lot of stuff. They want to be able to meet and fall in love with the person that they want. And then they'll have just out of tradition, they'll have the traditional Indian wedding. But, but they bought into the sale of, oh, you have to be in love or all these kind of emotional feelings. Whereas, some of the longest married Indian couples that I know, 30, 40 years they've been married. It wasn't necessarily like that at the beginning, but there was such an honor and a responsibility and things, and you just kind of grew it over time, and that was appealing to me. And then I read, certainly you go to the Bible. I mean, certainly all those marriages were arranged back then. You know what I mean? And some of them even betrothals, meaning your spouse is picked out for you at birth. So again, I think it's this romanticized idea of being in love, that I have to be in love, not only to marry someone, I have to stay in love to remain married to someone. I don't know. I mean, I think that concept maybe has done more damage to relationships more so than help to build them. Because again, you can go out there looking for that magic dust, and you may find yourself wanting when you let the good situation. And again, just go back and look at all of the social media over the past 5 years, all the Manosphere content where, Kevin Samuels or whoever it is, and everybody is sending, women left a perfectly good husband. And sometimes you'll see a man leave a perfectly good wife because, again, you had feelings for someone else. And I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily a good situation. Now, again, in some cultures, go back to Black Man's Fair. Again, he says, why can't I said choose one or the other. He's like, why can't I keep both? Some cultures are like that. A lot of Caribbean cultures and whatnot, it's almost expected. French culture, it's almost expected for a guy to have his home life, his wife and kids and all that kind of stuff, and have his au pair or his mistress or whoever you want to call it on the side. That in some cultures, that's kind of standard. Where you have the one, and some it's like three. It's like, Kevin used to talk about that. You got your home life, you got your mistress, and then you got your the one at work or something. I mean, and I'm not ignorant of especially if you're one of those high, quote unquote, high value men. If you're like a 7-figure man or whatever, and you got that kind of status, yeah, you can probably have all of that. What do you think is the likelihood that a guy who's like a multimillionaire and is at the same time faithful to only one woman, especially if he's like, big time, he travels a lot and does all these things or whatever, is it likely that guy is just going to have the one woman at home? Or, would it be unheard of to think that he may have some side action going on here or there or whatever because he can? I mean, what do you think is the likelihood of that?
Likely you get a side piece and your mental health is going to be on a crazy juggle. Like, oh my God, am I going to call it? Like you're doing things like, oh shit, I need my phone in order to see that shit. Or, like, did I go to bed with a condom still on my dick? And like little stupid shit like that. And like, it's just, I don't think a side piece is always a good idea. You're not gonna, if you can go, is one.
No, I'm not arguing whether it's a good idea or not. I'm saying the likelihood. If you're that kind of guy, you got that kind of sway, you got that kind of, you're a powerful individual, financially, influentially, whatever it is, and you have access. Okay, I used to talk about that. Those kind of men, they have access to things that the average guy doesn't. Mm-hmm. And with that's going to come temptations and everything else. So again, you could have, especially if you're a traveler, you can have a woman in LA, you can have a woman in New York, you can have something going on somewhere else, but you got enough money. The wife is in a beautiful home at home. She got servants, maids, with the kids and everything. All the stuff that the main woman has the trappings, but the guy's going to have his dalliances. You think Vince McMahon, even a billionaire with Linda? I mean, is it out of the ordinary when you start to hear that he was having stuff with other women? I mean, is that unusual? And look, no disrespect, I've seen Linda McMahon. You see Linda, you see other women around. Is that going to be something where you expect the guy to be loyal like that? I don't know. But I'm just saying that there's certain cultures where that is the norm. France, it's almost about Jamaica. When I'm knowing a lot of Jamaican women don't like Jamaican men for that very reason. Because again, it's almost like, like what do you expect? So for some, it's just expected that you shouldn't. So that's how some people get around it. But if you truly want to stay with the one, and that person's good to you in all these areas, why would you leave it, or why would you think that you need to go elsewhere unless your lust or your appetite is too big for one person? Maybe it's that. Maybe one woman isn't enough to satisfy you. I don't know. It's never been my situation, but I'm not going to speak for another. I'm not going to speak for another guy. And like I said, in other cultures, it's accepted.
That thing I never understood either, because if you're very happy with one person, that thing's perfect. Like home life is perfect, your sex life is perfect, your work is pretty good. And nothing's ever perfect. Happiness, let's say. Yeah, I don't know why we would do it.
Well, even for chemical, the whole purpose that we're not necessarily talking about marriage here. Like I said, the title of the show is, again, they check all the boxes, but should you stay or not? This could be a long-term, whatever you want to call your relationship. You think you're doing a good job with this person, or you think you're checking all the boxes or whatever, but they leave you anyway. Regardless if you're married to them or if you're in a, whatever you want to call the relationship, a committed relationship. So it's not so much about marriage; it's more so about a relationship of permanence that you think is good, and then that person just decides to say, you know what, I just want something else. Yeah, you're good, you do everything for me, and I appreciate you and everything, but I just don't have those feelings for you, whatever. And if I don't have those feelings for you, I'm gonna leave and go somewhere else. I would think even if you're married or not married or whatever you want to call it, you're still gonna have a similar reaction or have the same feelings to it. So this is not so much about the marital institution. It's more so about the status of the relationship that you're in. Or put yourself in that situation. The woman that you're with or the person that you're with, they're checking off all the boxes, but why is it that you don't feel the way you feel for them? And would you still stay in that situation even though on paper you think that you have a good thing? But you're still, for whatever reason, you're not having those feelings for them. Would you leave in that situation, or would you stay looking for something else? I don't know. I don't know. If, for me, as long as as long as my back gets scratched, hey, I got no reason to leave. I've never been tempted ever. Even when we did have issues in our relationship, I never thought out or even thought about stepping out. That's just not who I am. And so I never entertain that. But nowadays it's like it would take me 30 years to find what I got now.
If you told me as a bad practical joke, I had a dream about another woman, I'm gonna like, yeah, okay, no, I wouldn't even believe you tried to prank me like that. Because I'll notice an attractive woman in a heartbeat. That's not the issue. I'm still a man at the end of the day. So I'm that's still going to be there. But stepping out, that's just not my DNA. You got guys talking about, oh, well, it's man's nature to have more than one woman and all that. Well, it's not in my nature. I just never entertain that, and that just my mind won't even just let me go there. With that, but to leave the situation I'm in when I got nearly 30 years invested, it's I'm pretty comfortable. And for some people, look, I choose comfort over sizzle. How about that? Even though there's still a lot of sizzle left, but still, I'm a creature of comfort. I would take the comfort. It'd be like an old lazy boy sofa, whatever. You know how your dad's lazy boy. You probably needs a new one. It's probably being held together with duct tape, but it's still the lazy boy. I'm going to keep the. I don't care. You can give me the new one with the auto massage. I got the remote control with the auto massage settings, and I can lean all the way back, and it does all those kind of things for me. I'm just that kind of guy where it's like, you know what? I'm staying with what I got. I'll throw a cover over it, and it's still I'm still rocking with my with my crickety old chair. That's just me, especially when it comes to relationships like that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, Paul. You know what I'm saying? I personally am similar way too. I'm a homebody, and I want my house peaceful, quiet, comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Well, when you walk through the door, I want zen, and just take a nice brief, clean air. Kick your shoes off after a long fucking day and let's just relax. You know what I'm saying? So when you're messing around with another woman, I don't see it. Again, if she checks all the boxes, maybe if she checks all the boxes and you fell out of love, maybe the fun part for you is falling back in love with her.
Mm. Yeah, let me adjust my boy Eric. No, it's not. I'm saying she's that comfortable chair that when I sit in the chair, it's got my imprint on it. I'm imprinted on my wife. I can get a newer model. I can get younger, slimmer. I don't want another one. That's what I'm saying. The newest model, faster, stronger, whatever. My wife, she was just complaining today. She's got shoulders. She got to go see an orthopedic. Her shoulder's hurting. All the stuff that's going on. I don't care. I want her.
how I will put it, Paul. Except me going to another woman and breaking her in. I already broke her in. I have already got the hard part is out of the way. Too much.
All right, I'm at the reach out to Mandrell on that last one, but
Yeah,
say what you're saying again, P.
Like I said, when you have a woman, or a car, whatever you want to call it, you already broke her in. Do you really want to break in another one? No hard.
It's kind of like it's a car, like like you're a car guy, right? So again, you got those classic car, guys who build cars. Mm-hmm. I remember I lived with a guy. He my landlord, he loved like 1964, 1965 Mustangs, and he built 3 of them in his garage, in his back every night. Shout out to our guy, What We Know podcast. Thanks for joining in. Also, my guy, Braxton the Snake Fiend. As always, it's always good to have you here. But yeah, I mean, you put so much into it. Now, look, could he get himself a 2025 Mustang with Shelby and all that kind of stuff? Probably. Right off the lot. But you could tell all the love that he put into that car. And he loves that, and he just loves his cars. He loves classics. There's some people goes for the classic car. They love the hum of the car, the engine. You can't even get those cars and just put like a modern engine in there. It's just like people are looking for that sound of that classic engine with the muffler. No fuel injection. You want a carburetor engine. And yeah, I think if you built something over some time, yeah, like I said, in my case, I'm not speaking for every man. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying for me, my wife, flaws and all, just like I got flaws and all, we ain't going nowhere. I'm, comfort, I seek comfort over bells and whistles or anything else. We're inseparable. And so for us, yeah, I mean, I'm not one to go, certainly in that direction. And what if it gets to a point where you can't do it anymore? So those couples, you get 80, 90 years old, whatever. Now I know they got the ED and all the pills and all that kind of stuff to keep you going for a while, but when it gets to a point where you can't even be intimate anymore for whatever reason, now I'm still staying. For me, it's ride or die, and so yeah. So I would do it, but I'm just trying to better understand. Like I said, when guys come to me with this, and again, like I said in the past, I've had several guys who come to me in this situation. They got the good girl, and they got the bad girl that's coming at them, and there's a part of them that wants the bad girl, but the good girl is for their long term. Good for them. And so what do you do in that situation? Now, again, if you, like my man was saying earlier, if you can have both, I'm not going to judge that. Is that majority of men that can do that? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if she's checking all the, and not even so much about a count, because it's the importance. When I said I need 80% of my boxes checked, that doesn't mean that every box is the same. Mm-hmm. So, for example, one of my boxes was her being a Christian. So it wouldn't matter if she checked off every other box. If that wasn't there, I'm not in. Another box was, again, I cannot stand smoking. So if everything was fine, but she was a cigarette smoker, I'm out. That's an automatic DQ. If you're a smoker. If you have excessive tattoos, that's a deal breaker. Sorry, Pete.
Sorry, you're not my type either.
Yeah, so I'm saying, but now again, back in the day, my time, again, I go back to the ancient days, but again, if you got a tattoo, it was like small. It might have been like a 1-inch tattoo on some part of your body that no one could necessarily see. It could be easily hidden. Now, with body art the way it is right now, it's like all over. It's like, I don't know how many women who are left that don't have tattoos. anymore. I mean, I don't know, especially in the States, it's like, it's rare when women don't have not only tattoo, but tattoos. So that would be, I would be dealing with a very small pool of women who didn't necessarily have something, a tattoo. And again, I can take a small one here or there, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't, I'm not so radical about that, but I'm just saying once you start getting tramp stamps and sleeves and, on the neck and all this kind of stuff or whatever, I mean, that's a turnoff. So again, it doesn't matter how many of the boxes you check. That's a turnoff. Tattoos, smoking, and another thing, a profane mouth. Those are yes. Yes. Yeah, so we definitely wouldn't be, we can never, I don't care how many boxes that you.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
Pete, you're disqualified, sir.
I hope so.
You stuck all the boxes. So yeah, so again, it wouldn't matter what other boxes. You can be a great mom, great in bed, great this, great that, support, all that kind of stuff. Certain things I just don't tolerate, or I wouldn't want.
You know what? Believe it or not, I have my own scarification list too. I don't have a paper like you do, but there's some things to me is like it has to be there. Like, how good are you with your family? Number one, because family, I don't have a family. At least that big one, it's me and my mom. But it comes down to it is like I need to know how good you are with you, how close you guys are. Because if we're gonna expand the family, they're gonna be my family. I want to have a good relationship. Like I tried, saying, "Hey, let me date a non-Christian and see how that worked out." Like, it doesn't work out. I don't care who you are. If you're very into your faith, it's not gonna work out. Simple as that. There's some other checks for me. Like the tattoo thing is not too much to me, because I have tattoos. But if you're coming, you're coming to me and like you have half your face tattooed, I can't bring you home to mom. Sorry, she's gonna look at me like, "The fuck are you doing?"
What if it's that teardrop? Not a lot, but that teardrop thing, or whatever.
I mean, you kill somebody.
You see the link.
I'm this serious. In prison,
I know. I'm trying to make a case.
Yeah, she would probably know. Like she's gonna look at me like, "The fuck is going on here?" My mom. Like, yeah, she's gonna speak to me. But where was I going with this? It's just I over the years and definitely talking to you, I have my qualification list. Definitely, if I'm first meeting you new, like somebody goes to me, "Hey, Pete, I think," or you, for example, Paul, "Pete, you know what? I think my friend Maria, for example, you guys might hit her off." Okay, cool. I'm gonna send her my number. We start texting, and we're going back and forth and everything. I have a 3 process. One, after if text vibes go on the phone, FaceTime to date. And that has to be in a first month at least. Because I'm not gonna go back and forth for you forever. I'm like, okay. Sure. I think a month spam is a good time to set up a first date. If it's a blind date. Well, even online. If you meet somebody online. So, but that's when I start asking questions. Do you want kids? Are you Christian? Are you this? Are you that? Do you believe in a man cooking all the time, or do you think you're gonna cook? And these answers are gonna come in. Do you think it's the house chores are 50-50, or do you think you do most of them and I do the hard stuff like fixing the sink, all that stuff? Those are the questions you need to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds silly to somebody but that's what I was used to growing up. My mom did the housework. My dad did the hard stuff. The grass, the snow, the painting, the power washing, the deck, whatever. The cooking is always on my mom. My dad doesn't know how to cook. Now, in my, when I get married, my relationships, I do like to do a good percent of cooking too.
Yeah.
Not when I'm working. The days like today, I worked. I'm not gonna come home like, all right, I need to cook again. No, on my day off, she looks at me, hey babe, I love your Primavera. Can you make that today? Yeah, no problem. Let's go to the store. Whip it up. Yeah, here you go. Something nice.
Mhm.
Or a nice barbecue. Same thing, concept there. So you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have your stuff, but the question tonight, and again, shout out to Catelia in the building tonight. Again, always good to have you aboard. So again, for those who came in a little late on the show, so again, this is the banner, this is the title slide for the show. We're talking about a situation where you're with somebody, and at least on an action basis, they're checking off all the boxes for you. They're good to you. They respect you, whatever roles you decide. So again, I'm not here to define what that is. Whatever you think is necessary to stay in a relationship, this person is doing all these things. But for whatever reason, you just lost the love for it. They don't do it for you anymore. And so the question tonight is, in this situation where they're trying their best to be good for you, but you're not feeling them, do you stay or do you go? That's the question. And then also for those who are coming into the chat tonight, drop in a caption this photo, put a meme in for this photo. What do you think's going on in this guy's head? I would love to hear some of the reactions in the chat. My man Eric cracked me up early with that. So again, any captions that you have for this particular photo, I would love to hear it tonight. But that's what we're talking about here. So again, we have our standards, we have our criteria, we have our non-negotiables that we go for in relationships. Fine, the person gives you that, and maybe for a while it may be good for a while, whether it be just in dating or whether it be in marriage or whatever it is. You just reach a point where you're just not, quote unquote, in love with them. Do you stay or do you go? And unfortunately, I've seen in a lot of cases where people will go even though they have a relatively good thing. The guy's like, she's just not doing it for me. And then I might be the bro, and I may say, yo, bro, I mean, she's good to you. She cooks, she cleans, she does all the stuff. She, what is, but I know, man, but I'm just not feeling it like that. Men do that. Women have done that. Women have done that. You've been married for 20, 30 years. You got a good thing, but you just, you just won't pull the trigger on it. So that's what that's the context tonight. Should you stay in a situation where you're not in love with somebody? Is that required for you to stay? Or is it enough? Look, as long as these things are being done, as long as we're still respectful of each other and maybe love, maybe not in the eros sense, but in the filial sense or the agape or whatever, those sort of selfless types of love, as long as that's going on, is that good enough? Can you rock with that, and stay in the situation? If your spouse came up to you and said, you know what, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore, would you stay in that situation if the person came to you and said, I love you, and look, I'm willing to stay. I'm good, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Pete, would you stay? If your woman came up, so you're great, you do everything and whatnot, I'm not in love with you, but I appreciate you and I would like to stay. What would you do?
I really think it depends where are you in the relationship. Are you with the person 29 years like you've been? 30 years, 40 years, 50? Or are you only been with the person 6 years and you don't have any kids, any capital? Like you guys, like you guys have a house, you have 2 cars, you have 3 daughters, a dog, probably a couple of bodies hidden in the basement. I don't know about, hopefully not, but you get my idea. You guys have, built a life together already. And if you looked at your wife today, he goes, I respect you. I love you as a person, but I'm not in love with you. Are you really gonna throw everything away you just built all these years?
Well, here's BMU. Shout out to BMU in the buildings tonight.
I knew he
let her go and find one that will.
When I said on the topic, I got that like love emoji coming in. I'm like, oh, he's going to jump into this one. I know
now,
he's ready.
Right now, let me correct. Now, Catellia, she's saying she would not stay if there's no love. But again, the topic tonight, it's in the title. It said they're not in love with you. So if your spouse came back to you and says, look, I love you. I care. I'll do anything for you. But I'm just not in love with you anymore. But everything else, all the other boxes are checked. He's going to continue to do what he's always done. Dependable, reliable, all the boxes checked. You'll never have to be a protector. All the roles that as a husband he's supposed to fill, all those things are there. But he came to you and dropped it. I'm not in love with you anymore. Would you stay? And the broader question is, why is it that being in love, why is that so important? And like I said, I see a lot of this in Western culture, certainly in American culture, where everything has to be, we got to be in love. And being married as long as I have, there's times when, again, there were times when none of us felt like we were in love. But we stayed, certainly, we still loved each other and we worked on things so that the love came back, or the feeling of in love. So now I can honestly say, without hesitation, I am in love with my wife. But I can also be honest and say that, yeah, that wasn't always the case, especially when we had young kids and we went through those times of testing where I didn't necessarily know what true love was. And then I've also understood that some of that in love stuff is really I'm in lust. So again, when you're in those situations, what would how would you function in that situation? If you're the one who's feeling that, should you stay? Or because of the commitments that because of the commitments they made, would you stay, or again, would you go? If you're not having that, those feelings, then is that something that, so you would not stay if my spouse was not in love with you? Okay, that's fair. I'm not here to judge one way or the other. This is the discussion tonight. I know a lot of OG couples would. And so, because again,
I think it's fair too what you're saying, Paul. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people want that love, the passion between each other, and that's fair. If some people don't want to be in a relationship because you're not in love with me, I can't force you to be with me because I'm not in love with you either. So you're free to go. I can't, even if you, again, I'm going to use your wife example. If your wife goes, I don't love with you anymore, but I want to move on with my life. I want to find something else out there. You got to respect that into the day. You can't force somebody to be with you. Mm-hmm. But in your case, I'm not in love with you either, but I want to stay with you because we built this family together. You could be one of those things like you guys are now butting heads.
Right. Is there something bigger? And I think that's been talked about. I know Kevin Samuels, again, he just talked about it also. Is there something bigger than being your feelings, the institution, the legacy, all those other things? Is there something bigger? Now, again, we said check all the boxes. So I'm assuming what you're saying here, black man, at that point you were roommates. We didn't say that you guys weren't sexual. Now, if you could be sexual without being in love, right? You can be in lust. You could just be finding somebody, whatever, before you guys even went and got married and whatnot. Could you be in a similar situation where, when the itches need to get scratched, you guys scratch the itches? So it's not, we're not saying we're sexless here. So as far as at that point, you're roommates. Again, the title of the show, you check all the boxes. So that means you're not in a sexless marriage. That would be a box, a big box that is not checked. I'm saying, yeah, she's still there for you sexually, but she may not be feeling you like that. But she's just out of being a dutiful wife. She'll be there for you and give you, I guess, what you need, whether or not she's in love with you or that is doing it for her or not. What I'm hearing, certainly from Catellia and possibly from you, you would still leave. So again, we're not talking about a marriage that's necessarily absent of what we all define as, I guess, the required items. But again, this idea of being in love, I still think if you look at this globally, I think a lot more couples are kind of in this situation. Like marriage is like a duty sort of thing. So I'm like, again, like Tina Turner said, what does love have to do with it? But we in the West, we've been fed so much romance and how things have to be so lovey-dovey and you got to hear those sparkles in the background and all those sound effects going on. That for the real, and as human beings, as for the however long we've been on this planet, has that always been, or is this something that's been made up over the last 150 years or so? My man Eric talked about arranged marriages earlier, but the reality is up until about 150 years ago, that's how the world did it. Everybody was arranged up to a certain point until the 20th, latter half of the 19th into the 20th century, where people started choosing their own mates. But betrothals and arranged marriages and stuff, that was the standard. That was the norm. So when that changed, and now everybody's like, I got to be in love. And I got to not only do I have to fall in love, I also have to stay in love. And if I can't have both, then I'm out. Is that then, again, are we better off? Because we always talked about, our parents and our grandparents, yeah, they were married 40, 50 years and all this kind of stuff. Do you really think that they were in love all the time?
No.
So again, I don't understand, and again, I respect the opinions, but I don't understand if that aspect of it. So again, you could still be sexual, but it's like all those things are required, from what I'm hearing, for people to stay together. Yeah, once someone decides to throw you away like trash, it's over. Again, it's tough. You will lose sexual connection, but again, that wasn't the deposit. Roommates having sex but not making love. Okay, but would you throw it away? If you've been married 20, 30 years and you just come to that point where you're not loving again, let's say if that happens, you become roommates, still having sex but not making love. You're married 20, 30 years. Are we going to throw that away? I don't know. I don't think I would. But again, I'm not here to nurse spice the stuff up. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's something to work on. Maybe that's where therapy and things like that could certainly come into play. In terms of trying to get that connection back. I can't do a half-hearted love. The Lord both love and cheerful giver. Absolutely. And look at this. She may give cheerfully. It's like, look, I'm your wife. I'm your wife. I mean, my body's yours. It's like, but again, I may not be feeling that. So it's not like she's giving it grudgingly. She may feel, and that as a wife, she follows the word of God, and as a wife, this is what He expects, and I'm gonna do my wifely duties.
I see a lot of older Greek couples falling out of love, but they stayed together for years. For years. I mean, to the point like they're kicking the bucket together. So my parents are a great example. They try to stay together, but my mom is like, yeah, I had enough of this shit. Like,
no, but hang on, Pete. Hang on, Pete. But you admitted something sometime back on the show. That was a big miss, though.
Absolutely.
So what was it? I mean, we've talked about it before, but you can't say. So I'm saying in that situation, you can't say that the boxes were checked.
Well, no, I'm not saying they were completely checked. I'm not saying that. All of them. What I'm saying is people stay together and sometimes the boxes are not checked. That's what I was going to go with this.
Right.
Like my parents.
Oh, you said right.
BMU.
Yeah.
My parents, again, I'm going to go graphic, so I'm going to hit my warning button right here. Is my mother has admitted to me, and like she hasn't got laid since I was born. That's 40 fucking years of
wow.
Yeah, so that could have been a big issue. My dad admitted it to me. Like he cheated on my mom because he needed to get his pee-pee wet. And like he straight up talked to me. I'm like, I was like, that's you're talking about my mother in the other room. Like I was weird about that, and I'll talk to buddies of mine who agree too. He goes, that's normal at their age. I'm like, what? I'm like, the older generation is normal.
It was look, my parents never got divorced. They were separated when basically after I was born, my parents separated. And same thing with my wife's parents also. Back like that generation, like the D word, that was like a curse. Like it didn't mean you were staying together, but you never actually divorced the person. You were still married, at least the way they viewed it. Even though there was no contact, no intimacy, no anything. It was just like that was just something you didn't do. Even if you went and had other dalliances or you got another woman, had a family with another woman or something like that or whatever, it always came back that, you kind of stayed married. So to your point, I agree with you that you did have those older generations where, again, there was a lot of boxes that weren't checked. That didn't mean you stopped being a husband or a wife, at least on some level. But like I said, now the criteria has upped to where you must be in love to get married, and you must be in love continually or most of the time to stay married to someone or to be with. If you don't want to be married, fine. Don't because I know Chemical may yell at us again. So again, you're just an LTR, a long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like those things have to be there. And again, obviously, I think those things are certainly worthwhile. Val says to keep them. I mean, so again, you should certainly always, I'm not saying you should always work on and try to improve your relationship on a regular basis so that hopefully those things stay there. That love, being in love, stays there. You keep them. You do what you can to keep the spark going. But again, we all know people. How many videos have been shot in this space where we talk about people have been married 30, 40 years, everything's good or whatever, but the spouse still decides to leave. They just wake up one day. In fact, I was just reading recently, this happened a few years ago. I think Beyonce Knowles' mom was married to this guy, this actor from one of the soap operas or whatever. She just kind of got up one day and was like, I don't want to be married anymore. That was it. There was nothing wrong with the guy. She had nothing bad to say about the guy, whatever, but I guess she wanted something else that I guess at some point may have stopped. And she was like, I don't want this anymore, so I'm done. So, again, you can't stop that. You can't stop that from happening. But I don't want us to think that, there aren't situations where people have found themselves in a situation, but for the good of everyone, I guess they decide to still stick it out.
But is it worth it? The question is now.
That's the question. Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it, Paul? Because you've been married more than as long as anybody on this panel, except our Pan. You guys are the two OGs here right now on us.
Now again, if the boxes are being checked, I probably would. So again, the disconnect what I'm hearing from the folks here is, I guess, when it comes to the sex. You just think if a person's not in love with you, that for some reason then you can't have sex with them, which again I find kind of odd because for a lot of people you had sex without love anyway. A lot of it. So I would still say in that situation, what does love have to do with it? If you could have did it then why couldn't you do it now? I guess that's some of the disconnect that I'm seeing. A lot of people saying, well, if I'm not either in love or if I'm not feeling from the other person that I'm in love, then I cannot perform. But you were able to perform before when love wasn't there. So that's the piece I'm kind of lost on. But yeah, if that's still there, again, for as long as I can do it, there's probably going to come a point in time. I'm fighting it off vigorously. That's why I train. That's why I exercise. That's why I watch what I eat. That's why I take my vitamins. I'm trying to stay as virile as I can for as long as I can and participate in this activity for as long as I can.
All right, I'll let your wife know. I will donate you.
Oh, she knows. She knows. She knows. I tell her all the time. Absolutely, she knows. So I'm
to you guys.
Listen. I take donations. People want to send me pills or whatever. I take all types of donations. That's not the issue. But the thing is that there may come a point in time where that's not even going to be on the table anymore. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not going to leave in that situation. And again, would I throw away? This is my 29th. We're in our 29th season. And let's just say, you know what? She just came to me and said, okay, I'm just not feeling you like that anymore or whatever. Yeah, would I be hurt, whatever? Or would I try to say, okay, well, how can we work on this to make that there, but everything else is good? I don't know if I would step out there and say, okay, fine, I'll just start over. Now, again, if you think you're young enough to pull like that, you think you can get back into the market and find those things. And again, and a lot of women have done that. Left perfectly reasonable situations. Looking for the quote unquote high value man. What if the man you had was a good father, good provider, loyal, all that kind of stuff. That wasn't good for you. You decided to go somewhere and step out and do something else entirely. Are you better off? And now these ladies are 40 years old, 45 years old, had several chances at bat, were in marriages. Now they're starting to feel their own mortality, and they're trying to get back in the game, and now they can't. Whereas the only option they may have is to reconcile with their husbands. And we've talked about this on your other show. There's been couples who've been apart for years, but have then gotten back together because they realized that whatever the issues were that were you considered to be big problems, it was simply a lack of immaturity at that particular time. And that in latter years you reconcile. But yeah, when you're in your 20s, whatever, yeah, stuff that you thought was important as you get older, as you get towards the end of your life, when you turn 50 plus, you know what, this isn't really important anymore. And now you be like, you know what, let's get back together. Now, again, it don't have to be the same situation. Yeah, you might sleep in separate rooms and then just have your occasional tryst every once in a while. Yeah, you may do that. But especially when you're in your senior years or whatnot, because, again, everybody out here is like this high-end 6-figure, 7-figure person or whatever. So it's like, fine, I'll hire nurses and whatnot to do that. But we all know that's not how it is for most people. You're better off together for the long term, unless you want to be like the Golden Girls and just live in a, commune somewhere. I do think there's a lot of relationships. Shout out to my man, Eric. You have a great night, sir. Thanks for being with us tonight. There's a lot of people would be better off. Kids are grown, so y'all don't have those stresses or whatnot. You haven't done anything. And again, that's the thing. I'm asking people. It's like, are you better off? So you guys have been together for 10 years. You're 10 pounds heavier, 10 years older. You're not winning out here, but you're living alone. And you think that I'm better off. Well, no. Well, maybe you'd be better off if both of you might have did some stuff. Look, eat some humble pie, Admit that we were stubborn, we were wrong, and let's try to work something out and make these latter years better than the years before. And y'all just do old people stuff. 60 years old, 60-year-olds, you go on cruises, and you play shuffleboard, and you play bridge, or go to bingo night, and go to Denny's and get the Thursday special or whatever, the Jersey Diner. You do what old people do. And you'd probably be better off. But you thought that you could do better. And in the end, you didn't. You still wrong, but but your pride won't let you admit that you were wrong. And I think a lot of couples would do better if they would simply just humble themselves. We made some mistakes or whatever, but hey, let's make this thing work. Maybe not the same as it was before, but let's do something. I think a lot of people would be better off. I really do. But stubbornness is I think what kills a lot of people. I really do. Yeah, work it out. Absolutely. These people, you hear these stats about these nursing homes? The highest rates of STIs are in these nursing homes. These senior citizens are getting in it. I don't know if they're sneaking the blue pill in, the blue diamonds. I don't know what's in these nursing homes, but the rate of STIs in these nursing homes is crazy. So I'm saying, nah, go back to that woman, go back to that man, and y'all make the best of your latter years.
I don't want to blow this person's spot up, but I have to bring it up. We do have somebody in our network that went through that, if you think about it. Really? We went through somebody like that. No.
That's right. Grand Slam. Denny's. That's right. Senior citizens. You get 20% off. Grand Slam breakfast at Denny's. That's what old people do. Absolutely.
Listen, you go there with your breakfast, throw a Blue Chew in, and you finish for dessert.
That's right. That's right.
But I was
all these people talking about they want to go out because
network that got back with his wife after so many years. It happens. Yeah. Sometimes you mean separate to get back.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's always a great idea, but sometimes you have to separate to get back. So I don't know. Let's say catch-22. This whole situation is a catch-22. It depends on the situation. That is what.
Hey Pete, is that me or you? It's like we're breaking up. You're breaking up some. So I don't know if that's me or you. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you perfectly fine. Can you hear me now?
Hang on, Pete. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, no, awesome. Pete, try to go log out and come back in, but I'll keep the I'll keep the conversation going in a minute until you come back.
Weird.
But the people I've known been apart for a long time, and they just made their way back to each other because it's like we 50s in our 50s when they're 60 years old. It's not like I got a bunch of people out here just in my inbox. Nah, go back and like I said, make something of it. Make it work. And like I said, it don't have to be. Yeah, you're good now. Like I said, it don't have to be what it was, but it's better off than dying alone. I mean, I'm just of that. I'm just of that mindset now. Yeah, it's what you might have thought was important, finances especially. You wanted this, you wanted that. At the end of the day, it's like how am I going to pay for this insulin? You know what I'm saying? So again, it might have been something material or some ambition, but you're gonna come to a point where what? I'm just trying to be at peace for the rest of my life here. Screw the ambition.
It could be a combination of a lot of things. So we already talked about what ifs? Oh, how comes? What about scenarios like it was out of your control? You guys couldn't help it. Maybe your line of work took so much time away from being home, and her line of work took a lot of time from. Also, you guys are never home. You guys are on opposite schedules. Let's say she works nights and you work days, or vice versa. or you traveled a lot for work. Let's say you were a truck driver, for argument's sake. I'm using examples, of
Mhm.
course.
Mm-hmm.
And she was stay at home, and that could cause falling out of love.
Well, again, that could be a box checks then.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to me, stuff like that, that's a separate category. Clearly, again, if time, especially if, I don't know, whether you buy into 5 love languages or not, they say quality time is certainly one of the love languages, spending time with people. Some people are better off if they're apart for a while. You'll come together a couple days a week and whatnot, and the other one's on the road. Some people work better that way. Some people, you need time. And if you're not going to feed that time in, those things can happen. But then that's a major box unchecked. So again, that's a different scenario. I'm saying that as people, it's like you're doing, people say, look, I'm doing everything. Like, what is it? What am I missing? And that person may say, you're not missing anything. I just don't feel for you that way anymore. I look at you more as a friend, as a
Roommate?
I'm just not feeling like that. Thinking that, again, there's something more exciting, something more more for you out there, because again, especially with social media, with the movies, with the novels, again, people paint these pictures of what relationships are supposed to be like. And more times than not, it's not. And you find yourself going out there thinking you got something better, and you find yourself lacking. And then you realize, oh, snap, I messed up. And some people, out of pride, they won't necessarily try to go back and fix it because they're too prideful to go back and admit that, you know what, I did this for the wrong reason. I remember reading, Judge Judy, who, I think she's retired now, but she talked about that with her. She married another judge, Shineland. And she, I think she said her dad died, and she was really close to her dad, and that put like a lot of stuff on the relationship and whatnot. And so she divorced her husband. But then she realized, it's like, oh, snap, this was a pretty stupid thing to do. I was in with my dad. I was all these emotional stuff, and basically she wanted her husband to be something that he wasn't. But then she realized that, and she went and she said, Miyako, let's do this again. They've been married ever since. But how many people, how many women could admit, you know what, I messed up? And I mean, generally, not to say when you get out there and you realize how busted it is out here, and you realize, oh, snap, I need to go back out of necessity. I'm saying that you realize that, you know what, I really screwed up. What I divorced you over, what I left you for was totally selfish, and I was in selfish and whatnot, and just eat that humble pie to come back. A lot of people just won't do that. And again, unfortunately, a lot of relationships could certainly be saved. Absolutely. I hate to see couples breaking up thinking it's going to be better in these streets. It's not. So, yes, can relationships change? Can they morph over time? Absolutely. And in many ways, can it be stronger? I think it can be. But this in love thing, I just think it's a worthwhile goal. No question about it. And me, I'm an acts of service person anyway. And in terms of my love language, I don't have to be told how much by my wife, how much she loves me, and I don't need love notes, and I don't need all this stuff that comes with it or whatever. Me, acts of service. Put the work in. What I need, be what I need you to be for me. Don't go off of what you read in a book about, well, this is how you keep your husband. You want to know how to keep this husband? Simply talk to me, and I'll tell you exactly what I need to keep me. And leave everything else. So, I mean, that's really it for me. So yeah, I'm staying. Long story short, I'm staying. especially we still getting it in. I'm staying. I'm still getting my back rubs. I'm staying. So, I'm staying.
This is a bad fucking joke, but I don't care. I can see even a nursing home in memory care. Come on, baby. Come on. Come here. Come here. I gotta bleach you.
Look, if it's still within my ability, like I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm just like working out, just like exercise, and I'm gonna work out until I can't work out anymore. And so, I'm just gonna, try to keep as healthy as I can, as strong as I can, for as long as I can. The only thing I need to work on is I think I need more sleep. I haven't gotten a ton of sleep over the past few weeks, so I definitely need to make some changes to make sure that I get more sleep, because that's the ultimate growth hormones, everything that resets everything. So your sex, your strength levels, muscle recovery, and everything, sleep. And I certainly need to prioritize that more.
And there is some actual natural stuff you can eat, like bananas and so on and stuff like that, to keep your
There's all kinds of. It's not about falling asleep. I'm just so busy a lot of times. Like I'm going to bed like at 2-3 in the morning a lot of times, because again, either work, like I may get off a show and then I got to I'm logging on to work because I got some things I got to do, because I got a team over in another part of the world that I got to communicate with and whatnot. So trying to make some changes where I can get caught up on, and everyone's always asking me to do something. And so, learning how to say no more, and learning how to, cut some things off so I can get more rest, more rest time. Those are things I need to work on. Diet's pretty good. Weight training, no one, certainly I put the work in there. And I definitely got to make sure that I keep up on those things. But yeah, I definitely need to get a little bit more sleep.
I wonder how you do it, bro, because a couple of nights in a row, a week along, for me not getting enough sleep, I am a cranky son of a bitch afterwards. And my work affects it too, because I start slowing down. So sleep to me is like a very important part of anything, to be honest with you, to recover.
Yeah, and you think you can go without it for a while, but it will catch up to you after a while, and it starts to have detrimental effects if you don't get enough of it in. So that's certainly something I'm always trying to work on. Always try to bring balance to that. But we're coming up towards certainly the end of the show. Obviously, we want to keep the show under 2 hours. But I really want to thank everybody for being part of this conversation tonight. And again, last call. So again, if you haven't dropped a meme or caption for this photo, I would love for folks to drop your caption for this particular photo. Brother doesn't look too happy here. His girl looks happy. I mean, she's all. I mean, that's that body to body stuff. She got the boobies on his chest and all that. That's usually But him, he'd rather be somewhere else. I'm like, give me the boobies, man. But certainly, certainly want to appreciate everybody who was part of this conversation. Again, I respect everybody's opinion when it comes to that being in love. Certainly is an important part of what keeps your relationships together. And I'm certainly not here to certainly to judge that. But certainly, to expect that all the time, or to stay in that state of that kind of relationships, certainly morph into something more platonic, but still you're getting most of what you want out of it. Is it worth it to think that you can go out there and get something else that's going to be better than what you have? That is the question. And I would hope that people, before you make hasty decisions, that you really take that perspective to really recognize what you have. And I think that's a part of it as well. People don't necessarily appreciate what they have until they don't have it. And again, but they're too prideful to go back to it. And again, social media and all these other sources and girlfriends will tell you, well, girl, if he ain't doing it for you like that, you need to go somewhere else. Or the guy's telling you that, hey, man, you need to get, to go elsewhere, or go that side piece out. Yeah, go get that side piece. So again, other people putting ideas into your head in terms of what you need to be doing when it comes to your relationship. And the crazy thing about it, a lot of people who give me advice, they're not even in a relationship either. A lot of those women telling you to leave your man, they don't have men themselves. But they're going to tell you, oh, girl, you need to go and get something else. What's your track record? To be telling me to leave my husband. Or guys,
Probably
vice
pretty
versa.
bad.
Yeah. And probably, so again, sometimes the sisterhood can be a real detriment to married women. That's why a lot of people say that, certainly if you're a married woman, you shouldn't have single friends. Now, I won't go to that extreme, but I lost the translation. I knew that kid wasn't mine. That's a good one. That's probably the best one of the night. We're gonna capture that one. That's the caption of the night right there. I'm taking loss in translation.
Did I ever tell you the story about my
You're the
buddy
winner of it.
that he
Who's
found
that
out he
now?
had a lost kid on Father's Day?
That he did what?
Did I tell you about my buddy? He actually found his lost kid on Father's Day.
His lost kid on
Yeah.
Father's Day. Oh,
So-
no, I don't think so.
So he was deployed a lot. So after deployment, after 20 years, he was done. He goes, and I was hanging out. He was a lot older than me. The joke between the old military guys, like, I'm scared I'm gonna get a knock on Father's Day, like, Dada. I'm like, so I'm like, dude, the chance of that happens 1 to 1,000,000. So this is Father's Day. I get a knock on the door. I'm like, who the fuck is banging on his fucking door? He goes, Pete, do me a favor. I'm cooking. Can you go get the door? I'm like, be your door. Like, do I get another beer? He goes, get the fucking door, idiot. I'm like, yeah, I get the door. I goes, are you so-and-so? Like, nope, not him. He's in the back. Who are you? I'm his son. Like, oh, shit. This is going to be funny as fuck.
Wow.
I go, your wife is going to be pissed. So I go up to him like, you're not going to believe it. Because your worst nightmare came true. He goes, what do you mean? Your son's out there. Funny, Pete. Good one. We joke about this every year. This is not going to happen. I know I joke around like, oh, no, it's really fucking happening. Like, stop playing, Pete. I'm like, oh, it's really fucking happening, dude. I'm not fucking with you. He goes like, oh, crap. He goes, which one was this one? He goes, oh fuck. That's the last thing you want to say to the kid when you first meet your son after 20-something years. I think the kid was like, I think his kid was at least 21, 22. And he goes, it was when he was deployed in Italy. He goes to me, we started talking to him. Like, the funny part for me was his wife wasn't mad because this is before they were married. So he got a freebie on that one. Mm-hmm. But dude, think about it. If you were in the military, you get a knock, and he says, Dada! I'm like, how pissed will your wife be? Honest truth. And that was before you married her.
Oh, before I married her?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know. If I had to guess, she'd be annoyed, but I mean, I think she's of a certain mindset. Look, that was before me or whatnot, and you didn't know. Wasn't like, so I can't call you that you were a deadbeat dad or whatever because you didn't take care of your son or whatever. If you didn't know, you just found out that one of your older Dallances or whatnot. Yeah, it would certainly add a lot of complication or something, especially if the kid was younger. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about an old 20-something, whatever, it may not affect that much at all. If you're talking about a young kid, like a teenager or an adolescent, who then is like, who needs a father, and then my wife was like, okay, great, now I got another kid to deal with, and then I got a baby mother to deal with, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that could certainly add some complication. But if a 27-year-old showed up today and be like, yeah, you're my father, I think we just embrace it for what it is. I mean, I've been fairly transparent with my wife.
He did pretty much similar ways that he embraced it. He became part of his life. He visits him back and forth. Cool with the mother. It was like a one-night stand. They were at a bar drinking. Things happened. And to me, I think it's hilarious because he was joked about it for years and years and years that he's going one day he's good. Someone's gonna knock on his door and say, "Oh, that's my, I'm your lost son." And I'm like, okay, yeah, or whatever. This actually fucking happened, and that was the funny part about it.
Yeah.
What is the chance of that happening?
Yeah.
Slim.
Yeah, and then at that point, you just accept it for what it is. So it's hard to, hard to be angry.
Bro. Like I said, he's cool. His wife was cool about it. He did not make a big deal about it. She just let it. You know what? This was before me. He's part of our family. The hardest part was to break the news to his kids that were in 15, 16, or his 3 kids. I was like, she goes, "That is your problem to deal with, not mine." And he goes, "Oh, gee, thanks."
Oh wow, so the kids weren't feeling. It's still that way now, or have they come around?
Oh, they come around now. It was like
okay.
At first, like, why is this guy sleeping in our house, eating our food? Why are you paying child support? And he goes like, he felt bad. He wasn't in his life. He's just trying to help whatever little bit he can now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He lives in overseas.
Yeah. See, something like that. Yeah. If I got child support now to start paying, my wife's not gonna be happy. Because again, now you're affecting her bag.
Yeah.
So if it's just a matter of, okay, well, this is a new person, you probably want to try to build a relationship with them or whatever. She probably encouraged me to do so. But as long as it doesn't affect her piece, then I think we just deal with it.
In his case, it was more. It wasn't. He didn't have to pay child support because he's old enough. He felt like he needed help a little bit with the school because he was still in college.
Right.
So he helped a little bit here, like maybe like a couple $100 there for the semester. Got
some books or something. Yeah, I got
yes, any little thing, and he was appreciated. Like they sent him packages with clothes and stuff like that. She was open arms with him. You know what I'm saying? So that was like one of those rare occasions it worked out in his case. But some other cases, I know some women going, "Come here, bastard."
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll never have to deal with that. But again, we're coming up towards the end of the show, so we'll go into our final comments. Again, I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. Again, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. As I said, certainly consider becoming a member of both the Black Man Unfiltered Network and the Sparta HQ Network. Certainly, if you consider dropping a Cash App, certainly to the Black Man Black Man Unfiltered Network via the Super Chat. And also for us, certainly if you enjoy the content that myself and Peter will be giving to you every Sunday, consider dropping personally any Cash Apps that you give us. Certainly, we would certainly appreciate that. But final thoughts here. Again, I'm only going to go with the specific question that if all of the boxes, or at least the important boxes are checked, but if I ever found myself that was no longer in love with my wife, I would probably stay. And likewise, I would hope that she would stay. And we'll just keep this thing going. The relationship may change. It may be different. Or at best, maybe it gives us something to work on and say, okay, if some of the in-love stuff was gone, is it still possible for us to capture some of that back? So I would certainly still work for that. But yeah, man, I'm staying in. It's ride or die, and the vows didn't say until I stopped being in love anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I still love my wife. I give love to my wife, and I just pray I get that. I give love back, but I honor my vows, and I keep this thing moving. So, you get the last word, Pete, as we close out.
Before you make a decision, a rash decision, or crazy decision, sit down, talk about it. Make sure it is the right decision, because you can blow the biggest chance out of all. And take a minute, take a day, take a week, take a month. Think about a decision before you act on it, because once you act on it, it's gone.
Indeed. Well, again, this has been a very interesting. So, and again, stay tuned for more shows where we kind of talk about this kind of content. Certainly we'll try. We'll try. Yeah, very subjective show tonight. Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna have more shows like this. Coming up in the near future, where we deal again more personal, more points of view versus necessarily, global views. But, we'll try to certainly insert that in. Again, I talked about other cultures and how they handle, mistresses and the like. But certainly, we like to have these kind of conversations going forward, again, in a respectful manner. And certainly we hope that you join us. I see BMU poked his head in here tonight. Anything to say, Show? We got a couple minutes left before we hit the 2 hour mark. So I know you like us to end in a timely manner. But anything you were trying to sneak in before we end tonight, sir? Are you good? Okay, awesome. All right, so we'll end the show right there. So again,
we always have this young lady always popping her head in. You know who I'm talking about, So next time we have an open panel, I expect you to come up, young lady.
Yeah, we keep asking, but we'll keep poking. Maybe one day we'll get lucky.
On her ass, so she comes up. I'll keep asking. I keep bugging her. Simple.
There you go. All right, for everyone, enjoy your week. For myself, Mr. Bennett, he is.
This is Sparta!
The Ghost of Sparta. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Good night.